Guys, we're back with HonesTea On Demand. We're back with Kojo Bentil, our special guest who was giving up the tea in part one. Now we are venturing into part two after he name dropped Doug Morris and a few other guys. So let's get Kojo back in the game. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share if you really like it. So let's welcome Kojo to the stage. Hey, Kojo, how are you?
Hey, Sai, how you doing?
Good. Thank you for returning to HonesTea On Demand. We want to delve right into your part two. For our listeners and viewers, you guys should know that the part two was done on a different day because Kojo had a hectic schedule, right, Kojo?
Absolutely. Always.
Yes. So, Kojo, get back into the enthusiastic you because you were dropping jewels on the fact that you and Kedar had gotten into the partnership with under the Universal umbrella because of meeting Doug Morris and the gang.
Absolutely. So we actually, let me not say we. Kedar had met Doug Morris, Mel Winter, who was Doug's number two guy, and a young guy named Daniel Glass, who was really Kedar's point of contact. He was
Excuse me, Kojo. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you turn your volume down or move away from maybe your arms is resting on the sound because it's sounding grainy?
How's that?
That's much better.
Okay, I had it on mute. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I'm sorry. Go back to signing with Doug Morris.
Yeah. So when Kedar got this deal with Rising Tide, it was through Doug Morris. He had met Doug Morris, Doug's number two guy, Mel Winter, and then the third guy named Daniel Glass, who's a younger A&R guy who actually had the main contact with Kedar. And Daniel Glass was our main point of contact, as I said. And we ended up signing a deal with Doug Morris, Mel Winter, Daniel Glass under a label called Rising Tide.
Okay, Rising Tide.
Rising Tide.
So what artists did Rising Tide have that you guys were working with?
So we brought to the table Erykah Badu, because Kedar had signed Erykah.
He was under Rising Tide?
Under Kedar Entertainment, Rising Tide.
Okay.
And then he was managing D'Angelo.
Yeah. R&B singer D'Angelo. Let me get some tea on that.
And he was managing D'Angelo. Everyone remembers that first video, Brown Sugar. Kedar in it playing pool.
Wait a minute. I got to stop this recording. Hold up. Your sound is a little weird, but we'll try to work with it. Just project your voice, and now it sounds great. So let's start on our part two with the fact that you were dropping some gems about signing with Doug Morris. You and Kedar Massenburg. So Kedar Entertainment was first formed by what was the partnership? With whom?
So Kedar met Doug Morris, who I don't know if the listeners will know, but Doug Morris used to be the head of Warner Music Group back in the day. And there was a little bit of controversy behind some, how should I describe, some lyrics that a lot of the Warner Brothers artists were saying. There was can I say fuck?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Was one of the records that they had out, and a lot of critics complained about it. But Doug refused to censor his artists. He said, "This is art, just like paintings are art, and I'm not going to censor it." Specifically, I think the one key artist that he had through an imprint under Warner.
I can't hear you. Oh,
Interscope. They had what's his name? Tupac and they had the brothers from the West Coast.
Right. So we understand that basically Doug was the guy that refused to censor all of the controversial lyrics like "fuck the police" and the different songs. Is he also a part of the Seagram's family? Is he related?
That was later on after. So he left. He was pushed out of Warner Bros. And he started his own imprint called Rising Tide.
Rising Tide.
That he had his partner, Melvin Winter, and another guy named Daniel Glass. Daniel Glass is not such a big, a well-known name in the music business. He's a big name, but not so well-known. But he's the main guy who recruited Kedar, brought him into the fold under Rising Tide.
Got you.
And at that time, Kedar he signed Erykah Badu. He was managing D'Angelo.
Okay.
And just I talked about the other day. And the other artists I talked about, Angie Stone and Nonchalant and Stetson Steiner. He was still managing those artists. But his main signing that really attracted Rising Tide was he signed Erykah. And the fact also that he was managing D'Angelo. Because they were, D'Angelo and Erykah did a collaboration. I don't know if a lot of people remember.
You broke up. So, so basically, Erykah Badu, when I met you and I did the media buys for the project, I was under the understanding that it was Kedar Entertainment and Universal. So at that time, Erykah Badu was not the first artist that you guys broke. It was A+ when I did the media buys.
Yes.
How did that happen, that transition?
So what happened was, as I said, we initially signed to Rising Tide. But ultimately, Doug, behind the scenes, cut a deal with Edgar Brofman Jr., who his family owned the Seagram's liquor company. And ultimately, they decided that Universal Music Entertainment Group was stronger than Rising Tide brand, which was not known at all, and the initial company that Seagram's bought, which was MCA Music Entertainment. So
MCA, did you say?
MCA Music Entertainment.
Okay.
Ultimately, and Universal was ultimately the owner. The brand owned all those brands under the deal.
It's an umbrella, right? Yes. So Universal had Rising Tide. Rising Tide folded under the Universal umbrella, and that's how, because Doug Morris cut a deal, correct?
Yes. And so we became Kedar Entertainment Universal.
Okay.
And that's how you got your media buys with us. You saw that info. Yes.
Kedar you. So A+ was the first artist to drop, but he was not the first artist to be signed. Erykah was actually your first artist to be signed to Kedar Entertainment. So how did you get A+? He was a rapper, and
so he was the
youngest rappers at the time.
Yeah, he was 13 years old. We signed him through a production company named the Smith Brothers. A couple of actually twins out of Long Island.
Okay, A+ is from Hempstead, I believe.
Exactly. And they brought him to us. They helped in a lot of the production. And they were good, solid guys in the music business. Again, not very well known, very talented.
Okay, so cool. So when you did drop, so how was your relationship with Kedar Massenburg when he got the deal? So you met this guy when you guys were in college together, and in law school together, and now you've seen him develop himself as a man in the music industry. He asked you to join forces with him, so you guys work together in a capacity that you've been able to move up into the executive level, from a lawyer who was interested in taxes to to an entertainment executive. How was your relationship when you guys started out? Because Kedar has a huge ego. And I just want to put that out there so that I'm painting a picture about a guy that's about 5'6", maybe 5'6", genius, intelligent. He has a great ear for talent, and he's had his rise, and wherever he's at now, I'm sure he's still doing his thing. But take us to who this guy was. How did you guys get along? How did he become who he is today? Because I know it started from somewhere.
Well, look, he and I were really good friends before anything. Because when we met in law school, none of this background existed. I mean, he had his whatever issues he had. I had my, as they say, proclivities. That's a big word.
Proclivities.
The way I acted, you know. But together, we worked very well because we were kind of yin and yang. I suppress my ego in order to get things done. I'm a just can-do guy. I try not to bullshit. If we can't do it, I'll tell you we can't do it. We're not going to do it. You know, that's kind of how we worked. As I say, kind of a yin and yang. He was loud, boisterous. But I always used to say to people, don't worry, his bite, his bark is bigger than his bite. I used to be the guy who used to have to go fire people. I was a nice guy, but I was deadly because, like I said, I didn't bullshit. If we can't do it, we can't do it. If we're doing something that's not working for us, I would tell you.
Nice. Well, it's good that there's a yin and a yang in a company setting. But you guys were two guys that were signing acts that I don't know if you developed them, but I know in some capacity they were developed. That's something that people don't know about, artist development. And you guys formed a niche, a type of music that we called back then neoclassic soul, to now it's known as neo soul. You and Kedar Massenburg was responsible for that style and during the platinum era of hip hop. Talk to me about how did that come about?
So here's the thing, the just transparent truth. Kedar was a genius in terms of hearing what he knew would be commercially successful. He had the magic ear, platinum ear, whatever you want to call it. And he was also very good at marketing. You know, that was kind of his background. He used to sell Pepsi. He used to sell the brand Pepsi in one of the hardest markets to do it in Detroit, 8 Mile Road in Detroit. And he was apparently a great salesman. He came to law school driving a 5 Series BMW. His first year in law school, I was like, what is this? You know, but it was his marketing year. So when we started, you know, the music we were doing, I said, man, this is kind of like, at that point, there was a commercial on TV for
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
There was a commercial on TV for cornflakes, and the tagline was, taste cornflakes again for the first time. Meaning, it's come back. It's a comeback. And so he used that inspiration to describe the music we were putting out. Hear our music again for the first time. It's new music, but it sounds so much like old music, like classic music, classic soul, neo soul. And so that was the birth of that statement. And I'll never forget, we were driving in a black car service from one meeting. I think we were heading to a meeting at
I'm sorry, you were heading where?
We were heading from Universal to a meeting at D'Angelo's label, I think at that time it was EMI. And we're driving down 6th Avenue or 7th Avenue, I can't remember which one. 7th Avenue, because that goes downtown. And we were in the car, and he was talking about this idea. And he said, that's what we call it, neoclassic soul. And I said, that's too long, ain't it? Why don't we try just neo soul? Well, he said, let's get the trademark for neoclassic soul, and then we can, cut it down to neo soul. And so that's what we ended up doing.
So he owns the trademark to that term?
Yeah, of neoclassic soul and neo soul. Yes.
Wow, that's smart, genius. So here I am. I better stop saying that shit because I ain't paying Kedar nothing. Okay? Not one.
No, he's not going to come hit you for licensing fees.
Say that again?
He's not going to come hit you for licensing fees.
You don't know. Yeah, we both better take some tea.
That's funny. Yeah, so that's the story. That's where it developed. Right?
I hate your goddamn sound, yo. I'm sorry to the people out there.
Sorry.
I have no control over this Kojo sound. And
should I try Bluetooth?
I don't know, but dude, we ain't got time to be figuring this shit out. We done already had take one.
Like I did this yesterday. I actually tested this yesterday.
I don't believe it.
I guarantee you I did.
I doubt it. Because I don't know what you tested. You just learning to put a background up.
That was easy.
Just now, right there. Like 5 minutes ago. Really.
Right there. Anyway.
You need to stay close to your damn mic. I don't care if your head is cut off because we don't want to lose the people with the knowledge that you're dropping the tea. You're dropping some shit that nobody ever knew about. The fact that you guys came up with the term neo soul, neoclassic soul, while in a black car service going from one meeting to another.
Absolutely.
That's dope. That's incredible. So after Kedar put out Erykah Badu, A+, Chico DeBarge, because I did the media buy, so I'm familiar with the lineup.
And if I can interrupt you, just to be 100% clear, you see a lot of guys in the music business put their name down as executive producer. He was really an executive producer.
Meaning what?
Meaning that he used to be in the studio helping the artist, number one, not even helping. He would select producers or help them select producers. He would choose the songs in terms of saying, that sounds good. Because a lot of these artists we work with actually were songwriters. And they would come with maybe 30, 40 songs, and they would sit with Kedar, and Kedar would say, this one. And then also he would help them sequence the record.
Sequence the record, what does that mean?
Which song should go first? Which song should go third, fourth, etc.
Right, to tell a story, because people don't know that you're not. These songs aren't just chosen. They're not just being placed on an album. They're actually strategically placed in the order that the artist and the executive producer and the producer at times and A&R would like to see it flow, how to tell the story, what songs to put on, what tracks to give the artist so that they can write their music. That's something that Kedar did.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was going to say. He was a one-stop shop. He was a producer, executive producer, A&R, and the one thing that A&Rs do that he didn't necessarily do was doing the you call it the album.
What?
The liner notes. That's what a lot of A&Rs do. They'll put together the liner notes. They'll put the album credits together, etc. Kedar didn't do that. He had people working with us who did that for us.
But he also had A&R people. He also had
Yeah, that's what I mean. He had
marketing people. Like he had a full team. It's a label. He, even though he actually could do the work of various different roles, which he did, he still had a staff to work with the artist as well.
Absolutely.
Because I know, sometimes you got to just break things down to people when they hear, oh, he did this, this, and that. No, like, yeah, he did, but everybody else worked as well. So we've already established he's a genius. He's great at what he does. I've already mentioned that you had like Chico DeBarge, and then you guys got, I don't know which order, but Brian McKnight. You had R&B singer Joe. Did you guys ever have Algebra, or is that my imagination?
No, we actually had a young lady named Algebra. She's a singer from Georgia, from Atlanta. But we terminated our deal with Universal before we.
I'm sorry, you terminated your deal?
Yeah, with Universal before we finished signing, completed, closed the signing of her Universal.
I can't hear nothing. Ugh.
So she ended up, what I was saying is Algebra ended up on Kedar Entertainment sort of 2.0. That's after we left our deal with Universal.
Right. So who were you signed to when you left the deal with Universal?
We had distribution deals with a couple of different distributors.
Got you. Okay.
Not a label per se.
So why did you guys leave Universal?
Honestly, it was because they got really skittish about the new era in music, downloading, streaming, etc. They kind of got stuck in the era of the old style of music, putting out CDs.
But what does that got to do with the question? Because they've evolved, and Kedar Entertainment is no longer. So why? There's got to be another reason.
No. That was the reason, because we wanted to cater to what the young audience was demanding. The young audience was demanding music, downloadable.
I'm sorry, the young audience was demanding what?
Streamable music.
Okay,
downloadable music.
Okay.
And when we brought that to them, and when I say them, I mean our bosses, Doug, Mel, etc. They were like, that's just a fad. That's going to be gone in a minute. And our response to that was, you mean like hip hop? You said hip hop was a fad too when it first came out. We're still living it, So ultimately, there was a conflict, and Kedar was like, I can't do this. I don't trust that you guys are going to really support us in our efforts.
Endeavors. Okay, but Kojo, so you went on your own and you guys didn't pop streaming, but you left a major record label. Like it still don't add up, because no matter what, you needed the capital. So basically he wanted to leave the big boss and go and get various distribution deals. That's what it sounds like. It don't sound like, oh, you don't want to go into streaming, because like when you left, it ain't like he went into streaming and did some major thing. You guys didn't do any major things with the streaming. So that couldn't be the reason, because they're popping in the streaming world and Kedar isn't. So it sounds like to me that y'all really wanted to go and be independent.
Yeah, and that was part of it. We wanted to be independent, and the plan was to definitely move into the new music era, which was streaming, downloadable, etc. But maybe we pulled the trigger too soon.
And not only that, Kojo, your target audience was not like the young people, like you're saying. Because if you think about Instagram, you think about, well, forget Instagram, Facebook. It started with college kids, right? The age demo for Joe, Brian McKnight, Erica Badu, Chico DeBarge at the time is not the same, the millennials at that time. You know, it's not the target audience. So you're not chasing the young people who's not going to buy the album. You're chasing the people in their 30s and 40s who are familiar with that, who's into that. Because like you said, music was changing then.
Yeah.
Like trap music was out. Different cities had artists to drop into the game. So I just want to say that because
I mean, you're right. The artists we had didn't necessarily reflect the music that was going on, because if you remember, and if the fans remember, there was a thing called Napster, which really changed the
game.
The music business and the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we as young entrepreneurs felt like, okay, we need to follow, or at least become like a Napster.
Right.
But, you make a very valid point, Sibrena, is that the music we were putting out didn't necessarily fall into the Napster cup.
Right. So after you guys went to, because like we could be here for hours because you got stories, and we're going to have to do other drop-in sessions with you.
Yeah.
Because you're full of stories, but I want to take people from your inception to today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's got to be, I'm moving fast.
Yeah, I got you.
And one day we'll be able to go back and go, boom, let's get into this one topic out of all these topics. Because I think you're so freaking amazing. You've always been that guy in the industry that people trusted and people could actually, you're approachable. So, and then
Well, let me say this. I'm working on my memoir. So maybe when I get it to a point where we can talk about that, that'll be it.
Yeah, I don't care what you're working on. This is HonesTea On Demand. You're going to be dropping some tools tonight, some tea. So you can get your tea out and you can kudos, let's plug the memoir. We plug in. But we ain't here for just like superficial shit, Kojo. It's not going to be brutal. Don't worry. Like, I got you.
Listen,
people want, inquiry minds want to know. Like, you can't.
Let me tell you. I'll say the truth, because
you can't leave people hanging. You are an instrumental legend during the time of hip hop. You've overcome so many challenges, health challenges,
Mm-hmm.
that you are going to be able to help so many other people, especially men of color who may have a stigmatism. So we are just getting started. That's why I'm like, boy, we got to move this along. Okay, So Kedar and you you left Universal, opened up shop in another location, kept your brand name, and I'm going to call it the demise of the Kojo and the Kedar era. And I am going to describe how I saw the demise. And I don't think it's a demise of like anything except the demise of the company, like dissolving in a sense, from the traditional way that we knew Kedar Entertainment. So you guys, all I know is, Kojo, you left for a funeral. Your father had passed away.
I had to go back to Ghana.
So
Absolutely.
you had to go back to Ghana, where you came from. And as the responsible son that you are, you had to do what you had to do. You were gone for a couple of weeks that I remember. And I literally had business to handle with you guys for some media buys. So I remember.
It was a month.
I'm sorry, it was a month. Okay, that's 4 weeks or 5. That's a long time. And then music industry does not stop for people's births.
Nobody.
Anything. So I want to put that out there right now because everybody is on a deadline and deadlines have to be met regardless. But I went over into Kedar's office because I had to come and see you. You weren't there, and Kedar had me in the office, and he's like, Kojo's
not. If I can correct you for 1 minute.
Go ahead.
We don't live, as Erica said very famously, we don't live on deadlines. We live on lifelines.
Well, hey, I'm going to start saying lifelines, honey. When people be like, you got a deadline. No, I got a lifeline.
That's right.
That's true. I love the positive affirmations that you're dropping. So I went into this man's office and, we're talking about the media buys that's not happening and why it's not happening and why work is slowed up. And it was all about Kojo. And I said, well, Kedar, like his father just passed. And Kedar said something to the effect of like, I don't care. Like, whatever. So I remember when you finally came back and we spoke and you told me, all about your father's traditions and everything that you had to do. I had to just let you know, like, because me and you've always been cool, but just like, dude, Kedar is not your friend. Yeah.
Yep.
And so how do you feel about my comment to you? Like, I was not trying to break up a relationship, but I wanted you to know that wasn't your friend. And I would have told any of my friends, and I consider you a friend, the same shit if it, whatever way it went. If I'm cool with you, I'm loyal to that. I'm going to speak the truth.
Well, here's the thing, Sai. I was very clear on that from probably a year or two before. That ultimately loyalties were already established. I knew what I was loyal to, who I was loyal to, etc. I knew that as far as I was concerned, I was loyal to
Yes.
Ultimately. And that bore out in that conversation with you. I already knew that he was sort of whispering that kind of stuff. Just in the way, the conversation went before I left the country to go deal with my dad's burial and funeral services, etc.
Well, I'm smiling because I'm so glad that you had the time to like honor your father, because
yeah, of course,
that is like super important to me, and that says a lot about your character. I want to know, after you guys, after you left Kedar Entertainment, why did you leave? And then that could be quick because
as I said, it became crystal clear after I got back that what, this isn't really what I want to do. And one of the things that also became very crystal clear was that he was trying to run the label as a mini major,
he was trying to run the label like a mini label, major label.
Yeah, which was going to be fatal for us because that's not what we were equipped to do. We were not funded to be a mini major. We were funded to be an independent label.
Right.
Because most of the funding was coming from him. From the money
gotcha.
From the things. So that's really what was the ultimate demise. And with me saying that I'm not going to be in a situation where there's no real loyalty.
There's no real loyalty. I want to know, why didn't you? This is my opinion, so yes, you can correct me too. I just think that you were the kind of guy that could have. Well, why didn't you align yourself with? And you could have, but the Doug Morrises. I think sometimes in hip hop or in the music industry, we kind of stick with who we know and what we know. And I know that you could have or you would have like mushroomed even to a bigger mushroom, because
Yeah,
people trust you. You don't have a ego issue. You are kind and you are faithful. Like, you know what I mean? These are qualities that people like to be around.
and I think that's probably the sort of the double-edged sword, is that I was faithful and loyal to a fault
Right.
against my own interest. Um, I think back, and there was a period of time when we, as Universal, acquired Polygram. That's how
Mhm.
we ended up with 702, with Motown, with Brian McKnight.
Oh, polygram.
Yeah, under the Kedar Entertainment imprint, and we started running Motown. We went through that transition. And the interesting thing was that they brought in, and I say they meaning Universal, they brought in a high powered management consultant group to actually to do the deal, essentially to make the deal go smooth. And I spent probably 90% of my daily duties helping this consulting group because they didn't know anything about the music business.
Wow.
Nothing. And so, you got these high powered, executives coming in from, Harvard Business School, University of Pennsylvania, all kinds of great credentials, but they didn't know the business. And so I'm literally sitting in a meeting with them saying, look, we're not selling widgets. What we're selling is feelings. That's because that's what music is. So you can't categorize it in the same way you deal with your um, other products from your other clients.
Right.
That's how you have to approach it. And and I say that to say that the powers that be, and then within the Universal Music Group, understood what my skill sets were, and that's why they put me in place to advise the advisors.
Oh my goodness. So, did you get compensated for that?
I mean, we were getting compensated very well,
Okay, good.
because one of the things that we got to see, or I got to see very closely, was the the books for all those different units.
So
Motown,
all of the different labels, the books were open to you and you were able
yeah,
to see budgets, what was spent, what wasn't spent. Okay, so let me just hypothetically be an independent label with maybe two artists.
mhm.
What type, how much money should I have as a startup? I don't, incorporating the cost for everything.
As a like two artists. Well,
Two artist startup.
all right. This is how the music business typically is. You do projection. So by
I
projection, I
can't
mean,
hear you. You
I
do
say
a,
you do a projection. That's where it starts. Meaning that you identify an artist and what you think that artist is going to sell in a period of time, whether it's a
what
year.
should they sell as a startup? This is a new company. The manager don't know, never had a startup. You don't know the value of your artist. You just know they're dope and you want to stream, you want to
But
start.
what is dope mean? Does it mean that they're great songwriters? They're one stop shop. They produce, they write, they play instruments. You see, those are all the factors you have to consider. And so, let's say they're like, we had a kid that not many people remember, but some people do. Yes,
Are you
yeah.
kidding me?
Um, cut that out.
I
Um,
can't cut it out. We don't have the producer we have, but go ahead. Go ahead. You had it.